There was, hundreds and hundreds of people that came from all over North America and into Europe, and we were walking in prayer, and we invited people in to sit with us in certain ceremonies, and it was really a beautiful time. And so I wanted to show a short video that kind of shows you images and video of other people walking through the tar sands.
Today, I'm here for healing. To pray for healing for the land, healing for myself, healing for my family, healing for all communities that are impacted by this giga project that we call the tar sands. And all of the associated infrastructure projects like the Keystone XL Pipeline, Line 9, Northern Gateway Pipeline, Pacific Trail, and Kinder Morgan. And those that today were impacted by an explosion by train north of Montreal that was carrying crude oil. And we want to say that enough is enough. We know that by continuing to extract tar sands and emitting greenhouse gas pollution into the air, we are contributing to climate change around the world. So not only are we in an ecological crisis, we're in a moral human crisis. All around the world we see people's homes and traditional territories being turned into industrial landscapes. We see people's drinking water turned into toxic dump sites for industrial facilities. But the prophecy also speaks of a time when people will gather from all four sacred directions, all distinctly separate, but all connected in the circle of life. Those who have kept their ancient knowledge, ceremonies, and traditions and stories alive shall be the teachers. It's at a time when people from the four directions come together to walk for justice, for peace, for freedom, and recognition of the Great Spirit and the sacredness of Mother Earth. People from diverse backgrounds and creed will begin to truly work together in honesty and respect and dignity, with a sense of solidarity for one another. So brothers and sisters, it gives me deep hope to see you here today with us. Today I'm honored to walk with you. Hi, thank you very much.
Some of the other things that give us zest for life, and that has given me zest for life this year, was back home starting the traditional planting, not as much on a big scale that your amazing work is doing, but this is just some of our sacred medicines that we're bringing back into our territories, that are on our territories but are not growing as in many places as they should be or have been in the past. So this is what we call rat root. And it's one of our sacred medicines and really powerful medicines that is like an immune booster. And if you make tea out of it, if you're feeling sick, it just knocks that thing right out of your system. So it's really strong, and it's amazing. And I grew up drinking it. My dad makes a really powerful tea with that, and we mix it with the medicines that grow from the land, like mint. Some of the other stuff that we do on the land that I really feel is super healing in ways that connects us. Like I said, my dad, who's a hunter, he hunts moose meat, so that we grew up eating that. And so this is actually a moose hide that we're cutting up, and we're making the hide to be able to make moccasins, and so stretching the hide back home and then making things like that turn into this, right? So these are moccasins that actually my grandmother made for me before she passed away. And so this is, she was making these hides up into her 70s. So she was quite the lady and very strong. Because this is hard work. It's really hard work. I was like sore for a while. But the result is amazing. And she made everything from footwear to jackets to hats to gloves, all the clothing for my family. The other thing that I want to talk about is the renewable energy transition. And I talked a little bit about it in our smaller groups yesterday, but not so much because I wanted to save it for today, but this is what I want to end with, but talking about what we put up in our community last year, which was a 20.8 kilowatt system, solar system, and so it connects and empowers our health building. And you know, I talked about this idea of the just transition and what does a just transition mean. And for me, it means two things. A lot of the wording has been used for workers, of transitioning workers from, you know, oil and gas to hopefully renewables, and that is one of the just transitions. But also for Indigenous peoples who have been at the brunt of resource extraction and climate change, should be some of the first communities to benefit from this technology, and so, you know, we can stop destroying our homelands. But I knew from the get-go that a lot of communities probably won't be the first to receive this, will probably be the last, as per usual. So that's why I decided to take it upon myself and asked if my community would join in with me, and we started community meetings and explained, here's my dad explaining about, you know, why we were thinking of putting a solar project up. And this was the summer before, and then once the community gave the go-ahead to having the solar project in the community, then I started fundraising for it. And it took about a year of fundraising, and when we got to about 50,000, we ended up fundraising about 60,000 outside of the community. We started a research and design phase of what kind of solar project we wanted to put up to power the health center. And so we did something that is very unseen, not usually seen. We actually designed the project from scratch because we did a top-of-pole mount system, which is very different than a ground-mounted system. And a lot of the solar installers were like, no, you have to do a ground-mounted system. And I'm like, no. Kids are going to slide on, think those are slides, and they're going to get electrocuted. So we're not going to do a ground-mounted system in a northern community. We're going to do a top-of-pole system. So these solar panels sit really high up, probably as high as the ceiling. And so you can see here, this is what we designed and we brought into the community. My friend Julio, she's standing behind me in the back, to the left of me, he's a mechanical engineer, and he's always worked for oil and gas because that's the only jobs that he can get in Alberta. And so when we talked about it, I was like, hey, do you want to help us design this project? And we have this idea of we want to have these standing up in the air, and so he helped us design this system where we had this welded together. These are actually poles that we just bought from like the oil and gas companies. I was like, okay, well, you got the product, so we'll just buy it from you. And so that's what we started doing, was we put 10 poles standing in, and we had to put them down really far into the ground. We had to auger and drill down about 10 feet so we can make sure that they stay really firm, because I went to one solar conference, and one of the ladies was presenting, and one of the projects they put up got blown over by the wind, and I was like, that is not going to happen to us. So we have it for 150 kilometer wind, so they're pretty strong up there. And then you can see we painted them white afterwards, and then we started kind of having to get them really high up. And so we have a lot of people in our community that work for oil and gas, because that's the only jobs that are available if you actually stay in the community, which is why I don't live there and have had to leave. But yeah, so we had so much help. We trained all the youth. So there's 3 youth right there that we trained, and we actually trained about six. They worked us from 6 or 7, 8 or 9 in the morning to 9, 10 or 11 at night, depending on, because we have sun till 11 because we're so north. So we were there day in and day out for a couple of weeks. It was hard to get all. This is Carlton, and he'll be in the video. I'll show you at the end, but. This is the first time we got solar panels in the community, and I was so excited. I was solar panels. My auntie, who's not my auntie Lillian that was gonna come, but my aunt Gladys, she came to our solar feast and launch, and she came up to me, and she's real tiny, and she's like, I never thought that I'd see solar panels in my life. I never thought I'd see it in real life, She said, I always seen them on TV before, but never thought I'd see it in real life. And here they are, So it was really cool, and I was like, I know, auntie, right? So awesome. So here we are putting them up, and yeah, it was a pretty big overhaul. And so you can see the school behind. So the students, there's kindergarten to grade 12 right behind, and that's where the school is. And they see these panels every day, and then it's connected to the health center just to the right. So that's the after. So we have 80 panels up. They're 250 watts, and that's the health center. And it's the first time we actually have ever had a health center. It was only in the community for about eight months before that. And it's the first time that there's counseling in the, some counselors come in, and a nursing station, and space for the young mothers to get some teachings in one of the boardrooms they have. So it's pretty cool that it's connected to the health center. And so that's kind of what it looks like from afar. And this is all the crew that we worked with that was helping us day in and day out. Not everyone's there. And I wish that I was trying to get women. I was like messaging and Facebooking. I'm like, hey, come. And they're like, okay. And then they never showed up. So next time I'm going to be like very adamant about we need to have more women because I'm the only one. But this is, so I'm going to show you this video now, but it's, this is the reason why I really wanted to do the solar project was more for the young people and just to show that we could do it. Because I feel like, I've traveled around for the past, almost decade speaking about the issues back home, and I would go home and nothing would change. Everything would change. It would seem like it was changing on the outside, like the dialogue was happening. We were able to stop KXL. We were able to get divestment from certain investors when we would go to Europe. Like we were able to do a lot of things, but it didn't change the immediacy of what my family lives day in and day out. And so when I go home, I'd be like, things are still the same. And so I feel like this is one way to show the changing landscape and bringing hope for the children that can see that there's other ways to utilize energy, and they can still use their cell phones. They can just power it by solar, which won't be extracted from our homelands. And so that's our ribbon cutting ceremony. And there's my dad, he's the chief, and I think I showed you guys this yesterday. And so I'm going to show you guys the video now. The Lubicon Cree have been here since time immemorial. Indigenous peoples have a very intimate connection with our homelands here in northern Alberta. And what we've seen instead is industry coming and essentially taking over our lands and really exploiting them, and it's had a detrimental impact. We see companies digging down into the earth, trying to extract the very last drop of oil. But instead, we can start looking up. We're bathing in sunlight all around us, and yet we don't utilize that energy. And so that's why our community has decided to install solar.
We've got a state-of-the-art system going in here, and I think it's really important that we take this project next level. Essentially 20.8 kilowatt capacity is what this will end up becoming, which will connect in through the health center, but feed the whole community in terms of energy. That's 80 panels are going to go on top of these poles. We're very deliberate about this because we want it to be something that's still very much a central site in the community, that people will see it, it'll literally welcome visitors, and people will be reminded of it every day. But we wanted to make sure that we retained the land use potential for it. It's something that really is going to be in the community behind us for at least 50 years.
Pretty amazing to see this project go up. A lot of the community members and the young people are working, they're getting hands-on training right now. It's really amazing to see how proud people are of it and how it's a community project, because all of this has been through the blood, sweat, and tears of the community.
Well, this project matters to us because it kind of represents who we are and where we're going in the future. When you see the work, I can say that I did that. I took part and I did it right. So there'll be a lot of people seeing it every day. I can tell people I worked on this.
I know in a lot of the ceremonies and the songs, the sun is praised. Even the project name, Pita Pan, means the coming of the dawn, and it's coming of a new era, era where we use, energy that's not devastating to our environment. In getting this solar project going, we are leaders in solar power, and that's what we're teaching our youth. They have to learn how to operate it, they have to learn how to maintain it, and they already know how to set it up. So if any of our neighbors in the surrounding First Nations or Métis settlements want to start a solar power, we can be there to help them get it going.
So yeah, I just wanted to end with these points, which was, I think for us as Indigenous peoples, in our worldview and philosophy is that renewable energy is so much more in line with our values and our way of being, because it's not extractive, it's regenerative. The sun is always shining, and the sun, it's cloudy some days, but the sun is always shining, and the sun constantly gives, and it's a renewable energy. So it's really exciting for me. The solar technology is really exciting, and it's something that I hope to continue to work on and continue to put into other communities and help other communities to do the same. And because I think it's time for a new story. It's time to enjoy life and stop suffering. But I really feel like I really wanted to share this because I really appreciate how there was poems being shared yesterday. So this is my way of closing with a poem, and I really like this poem. I don't know, has anybody read this one? Yes, I love it. So it says, "I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhibit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that which comes to me as seed goes on to the next as blossom, and that which comes to me as blossom goes on as fruit." Hi.